This is the story of why I rejected my first job offer. A month after I graduated with a CS degree in 2021, I was scrolling through Indeed to find my first job. And at this point, I've only done like 2 interviews and I failed them pretty badly. So I've been just mass applying without reading the job descriptions, aka shotgun applying. And a day later, my phone rang. The recruiter of this really small startup wanted to set me up for an in-office interview. And this was because the office was only 30 minutes away from me. So I thought it would be a good idea to get some in-person interview experience, especially because it was COVID at that time and most companies were doing online interviews. Now I needed to do some research. I found the job listing and started reading through the description. It was a position for an iOS developer, and I did not want to become an iOS developer. I did make an iOS app 2 years prior, and that's when I actually realized I didn't want to become an iOS developer. The next thing I noticed was blockchain, AI, and telemedicine. Honestly, I had no idea what these three had to do with each other, but that's what their company did. I mean, it was 2021, so blockchain was the next big thing, but we all know how that turned out. Blockchain was the first red flag. So after looking through the job listing, I knew I didn't really want to work here, but I wanted the interview experience, so I was going to go through with it anyway. But the next piece of research that I had to do was look at their Glassdoor reviews. So I found their company on Glassdoor. Wow, 3.9, that's not that bad. And so I started going through the reviews and I noticed something really weird. The newer reviews mostly had 4s and 5s, so how is their rating so low? And using my expert detective skills, I went to the depths of their oldest reviews, which was basically just the next page. And that's when I found it. Everything that I've been looking for in my life. All of the 1 and 2 star reviews. And so that's another red flag. When you read through the descriptions of these 1 and 2 star reviews, it seems pretty realistic, like I believe them. So using my expert analysis skills, they had a lot of really bad reviews at first. So their company must have told their employees to give 5-star reviews. And I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's another red flag, but most people would probably just not want to go to the interview at this point, especially because of all of these red flags that have shown up. But I'm different. It's like when I see a movie get a bunch of bad reviews, I still want to watch it anyway, just because I want to see how bad it actually is. That's basically the same reasoning why I still wanted to do this interview. I need to know how bad it could be. Okay, so fast forward to the interview day. I ended up driving to the office and my first impression for that, it seemed kind of like an old, depressing dental office, kind that no one really likes to go to, but is kind of just there. So I met the recruiter at the front desk. She led me to the room where all of the other engineers were, and I noticed that everyone's so young. And apparently they were all pretty new college grads. And I think all of them were Asian too. So I guess I would have fit right in. I said hi to everyone, and then they led me to the interview room. And that's where it begins. The interview. My first interviews were with the junior engineer, and then another junior engineer joined, so it became a 1v2. We went over my resume. Because this was an iOS developer position, they really wanted me to talk about my iOS app that I built like 2 years ago. To be honest, it's really been a long time for me since I've worked on that, and because I just hate iOS development in general, I didn't really have anything good to say about that. They started grilling me on how I structured the project and the design patterns I used, and I'm just like, I just followed a tutorial and I made my app structured based on that tutorial. And after that, they started asking some programming questions. Because I told them that I'm learning front-end development right now, they started asking me some JavaScript questions. The interviewer asked me, is JavaScript multi-threaded? At that time, I had no idea, but using my expert analysis skills, I knew that Python is multi-threaded, and JavaScript and Python are programming languages, so JavaScript has to be multi-threaded too. I'm so stupid. So I told the interviewer that JavaScript is multi-threaded. The interviewer got the biggest smile on his face. He was so happy that I was wrong. I didn't really know what to say. In my head, I was just thinking, can I go home? I didn't want to do this anymore. And that pretty much concludes the first interview. Round 1's over, and round 2 is with the CTO. I really don't remember that much about it, so I'm just going to skip this. But we get to the final boss, which is the non-technical CEO. The CEO starts giving me a rundown of what their company does, and their blockchain, AI, telemedicine. I still don't know what telemedicine is, and he starts telling me about it, but I have no interest at all, so I'm not really paying that much attention. I'm kind of checked out from all of the other interviews. And then he starts talking about how he had a failed startup a few years prior where he lost around $2 million, so his track record is not that good. After that, we start talking about the job offer. He discussed with the interviewers and they thought I did a good job. I'm pretty sure I failed all of the interviews. I don't know how I did a good job, but maybe that's just their interview tactic. And so we get to the job offer and he tells me that it's 60K a year. 60K in California is not that great, but it's not the worst thing. And then he breaks it down and says it's 30K in salary and 30K in stock.
What?
And I think my brain just stopped working at this point. It was so hard to process this. But then he says that he's giving me 30K in stock because they're going to become the next Apple and he wants me to become rich with them. If my brain wasn't working before, you can imagine, I'm thinking at this point, is this even real life? This feels like a comedy skit. Like, am I getting trolled or something? So I responded like how anyone else would respond. Okay, sounds good. But in my head, I'm just like, get me out of here. After giving me that rundown, he starts going over the job responsibilities. Because I told him earlier that I liked front-end development, he told me I would be doing iOS and full-stack web development. Wow. Okay, I guess I shouldn't have told him I like front-end development. And then he said if I wasn't able to finish my tasks, then I would have to work nights and weekends and also need to stay up to communicate with the team in China in Chinese.
Oh, hell no!
My Chinese is okay, but it's probably not good enough to communicate in a business setting, but I think that was the least of my worries. So I asked him for some time to think about it because I needed to process this, and he told me that the offer only lasts until the end of the day. Yeah, I didn't know what to say, so I ended up accepting the job offer, and then he said, great, okay, you'll start tomorrow.
Huh?
Guess I'm starting tomorrow. So I said goodbye to everyone, see you tomorrow. But in my head, I was just like, I want to leave so bad. I ended up going home and I took a nap. I woke up and I was wondering whether that was a dream or not because it felt so unrealistic. But then I ended up just texting the recruiter and telling her that I did not want to work there. So what are the takeaways from this story? Pay attention to all of the red flags, trust the Glassdoor reviews, avoid bad startups. Curiosity may come at the cost of your sanity. But to be honest, it was a pretty good interview experience because I learned a lot about things to look out for and things to avoid. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.